The Forgotten Key. Maya had always been drawn to mysteries. As an investigative journalist, she thrived on uncovering the truth, no matter how deep or dangerous it lay buried. So, when she received an anonymous tip about a series of unsolved disappearances in a remote town, she couldn't resist the lure of the unknown. The town of Black Hollow was nestled deep in the mountains, surrounded by thick forests that seemed to swallow the sunlight. As Maya arrived, the townspeople eyed her with a mixture of suspicion and fear. They were tight-lipped, unwilling to discuss the missing people or the town's dark past. Determined, Maya checked into the only inn in town, an old, creaky building that had seen better days. The innkeeper, an elderly woman with sharp eyes, handed her a rusted key. "Your room's at the end of the hall," she said curtly, "and stay out of the basement." Maya's curiosity was piqued. The basement, she thought, might hold the answers she was looking for. That night, unable to sleep, she crept out of her room and made her way down to the basement door. The old key in her hand seemed to throb with a strange warmth as she slid it into the lock. The door creaked open, revealing a staircase leading into darkness. Maya descended slowly, her flashlight flickering as if protesting her decision. At the bottom, she found herself in a large, cold room filled with old, dusty furniture and strange symbols painted on the walls. The air was thick with the scent of mildew and something else, something metallic. In the corner, she noticed a large antique mirror, its glass cracked and smeared with what looked like dried blood. As she approached, the mirror seemed to pulse, as if alive. Maya's reflection wavered, and for a moment she saw not herself, but a shadowy figure standing behind her. She spun around, but the room was empty. Heart pounding, she turned back to the mirror. The figure was gone, but her own reflection stared back at her with wide, terrified eyes. Suddenly, the temperature in the room dropped, and she felt a cold breath on the back of her neck. "Leave now, before it's too late," a voice whispered, echoing off the walls. Maya's hands shook, but she couldn't move. The door at the top of the stairs slammed shut with a deafening bang, and the room plunged into complete darkness. Maya's flashlight flickered out, leaving her in the pitch black. The whispering grew louder, filling her ears with warnings and cries for help. She fumbled with the key, trying to find her way back to the stairs, but the darkness seemed to close in around her. Just as she thought she'd be lost forever, the door flew open, spilling light into the room. The innkeeper stood at the top of the stairs, her eyes burning with anger. "I told you to stay out of the basement," she hissed. Maya bolted up the stairs, barely pausing to grab her bag from her room before fleeing into the night. She didn't stop running until she reached her car, hands trembling as she fumbled with the keys. As she sped away from Black Hollow, she glanced in the rearview mirror. The shadowy figure from the basement was sitting in the back seat, its eyes glowing with malevolent intent. Maya's scream echoed through the mountains as the car veered off the road, disappearing into the dense forest. The next day, the townspeople found the car empty, Maya's belongings scattered around it. There was no sign of her, just the rusted key lying on the front seat, waiting for its next victim. The townspeople whispered about the curse of Black Hollow, but they knew one thing for certain: some doors should never be opened, and some secrets are best left buried.